Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Bricks and Bleachers podcast. All things Chicago Cubs in under 10 minutes. And welcome to the 2022 Major League Baseball season. It is on. The 99-day lockout is over, but it's going to be a crazy few days. Players are now scrambling to get to spring training. Optional reporting Friday and Saturday. I think Sunday is mandatory across the league. And the first exhibition games are happening on Friday. Holy cow. Opening day for the Cubs will be April 7 at home with Milwaukee. So much to talk about in this episode of the show. Let's talk about who's actually on the team here. Let's talk about the rosters of each team, because there is so much activity on this front that is going to go down in the coming hours and days. There are hundreds of free agents at the moment. They were eligible to sign with teams pretty much as soon as the agreement was announced late in the day on Thursday. Probably going to be a pretty crazy weekend with a flurry of signings. But there will still be some who will drag it out. They'll hold out for a while, either looking for the best fit or looking for the most amount of money. But this year feels different, coming out of the lockout and also thinking back over the last couple of years. In many ways, it kind of feels like we're coming out of the pandemic, as many pandemic protocols across the country in large gathering spaces are being dropped or hugely scaled back, including at stadiums. Look back to opening day of 2021. You didn't have packed houses anywhere. I think Texas had a packed house. That was it. Wrigley Field started with like 20% capacity or something. And that was something that was rather common across the league for the first few weeks of the 21 season. Now we've got a 162-game season, which is pretty shocking in itself, because that didn't even look to be the case even 48 hours ago. And you're going to see, hopefully, a full house of fans, or at least the prospect of full stadiums from game number one. So that's pretty cool. Cubs hit the field this weekend in Arizona, and then, they have so many guys to take a look at. Guys returning, guys in the minor league system. Those guys have already been doing their workouts. Minor league spring training has been proceeding as normal. Major league spring training will now get underway. And the Cubs made a big splash in free agency. Marcus Stroman is going to get a whole lot of attention when the players report here the next couple of days. Marcus Stroman coming over from the New York Mets. I think he's going to be a big fan favorite at Wrigley Field almost from day one. One, because he's really good. He and Kyle Hendricks there at the top of the starting rotation for the Cubs. That's an incredible 1-2 punch there, regardless of whether Hendricks is your clear number one or Stroman is your clear number one. Either way, 1-2, those guys are incredible. And Stroman has a great personality, too. I think he's a great follow on Twitter. He's been very much engaged with Cubs fans in a variety of ways on Twitter in recent weeks. Pretty cool to see that. So eager to see who else they can bring on board. They also have already brought on Clint Frazier and Yan Gomes. Those signings right before the lockout. Frazier, with 5 years with the Yankees, had a really dismal 21, but he's another outfield option for the Cubs. Yan Gomes is a respectable catcher. Wilson Contreras is still around. No long-term deal in place at the moment, but even if there was, Cubs still need another catcher. Contreras is a guy who will go out and play every inning, but you can't have that. Guys who are in the catcher position, their bodies break down. It's a tough position, and Contreras logged more innings than anyone else behind the plate prior to getting hurt late in the season. So I'm super pumped to see the moves they've made already, but still many more holes needing filled, and I'm sure the Cubs front office is working feverishly to find the best deals out there. I am really excited to see Nick Madrigal. He is a new Cub, but they picked him up last season. He was part of that trade with the White Sox where Craig Kimbrell went to the Sox from the Cubs. Nick Madrigal is a guy who can play the middle infield, hit 300. Huge addition to the everyday lineup for the Cubs. In that same trade, Cubs also acquired Cody Hoyer, a relief pitcher. Bad news this week as he underwent Tommy John surgery. So we'll have to wait another year before we get to see Cody Hoyer in a Cubs uniform. Now, you might be thinking, what was the point of all of this back and forth, the delay and that 99-day lockout? Well, that's a solid question. Owners wanted more money. Players want more money. Rules changes to be discussed as well. And for the most part, those things have been ironed out. Baseball doesn't have a hard salary cap like you see in football, but there is a luxury tax threshold. Teams pay a significant tax once payroll exceeds a certain amount. The Cubs have been there a few times here recently. Not in 21 after that fire sale, but they've been in that luxury tax territory multiple times in recent years. That first luxury tax threshold rises from $210 million last year to $230 in 2022. Players feel that is a win because that's a whole lot more money that the players can go after. Each team with the ability to theoretically spend $20 million more on their roster with no luxury tax penalty. Players say, hey, that's a lot of money. We're going to chase after that money. But certainly there were other topics being discussed as well, including revisions to service time calculations. Again, as it relates to the Cubs, a lot of talk around Chris Bryant and when he was coming up many years ago about how the Cubs handled Bryant's rival at the major league level. Bonus pool money for non-arbitration eligible players, a draft lottery to de-incentivize teams from tanking, increases of minimum salary. I think the minimum salary for 2022 is now going to be $700,000, and an expanded postseason as well. Let's talk about that real quick because that's something that all of us as fans will see come October, really even before then, a 12-team postseason. So we'll see first place teams with the two best records in each league get a bye in that first round. The remaining division winner, plus the wild card with the best record in each league, will host best of three series, all three games at the site of that top seed. Chances of a team with a losing record are pretty small. You might be thinking, as I did, well, if you're going to bring more people to the postseason, more chances of a team with a losing record. Chances are pretty small. I don't remember who did the research on this. I saw an article late today on Thursday that said, an analysis of the last 8 years, 2014 to 2021, only one team, sub 500, would have made the postseason in this 12-team getup. So there you go. But I say there will be impacts even before October because the July trading deadline, there was so much activity last year. Very exciting. What will the feeling be this time around with more teams vying for that extra spot? Probably more buyers, less sellers. Does that make things more exciting or less exciting? More movement or less? I don't know. Let's see. Other stuff to talk about here. National League is getting the designated hitter. I like seeing pitchers get at-bats in National League stadiums. I know I sound old saying that. Most passive fans are like, hey, just give me the best 9 guys at the plate. So National League, the Cubs included, will trot out a lineup of 9 batters each game, none of which are pitching. Other rules changes are possible, but not happening in 2022. Could be the inclusion of a pitch clock. I think there's still the talk of bigger bases. And a Sports Illustrated article late Thursday also talked about the possibility of banning defensive shifts. But for now, pitchers and catchers are heading to camp, like right now and the coming hours, packing up for camp, arriving no later than Sunday. We'll see the Cubs in exhibition action next weekend. Then opening day set for Wrigley Field, April 7, Cubs hosting the Milwaukee Brewers. Next episode, we'll have plenty to talk about in terms of free agency. Catch you up on other moves made by the Cubs. Sort things out from other teams in the National League Central. Who's the favorite? How are the Cubs looking? We'll break it all down. Try to provide some answers, more answers than questions as we gear up for another season of Cubs baseball. Subscribe if you're not already. We're pretty much everywhere. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and more. All things Chicago Cubs in under 10 minutes. It is the Bricks and Bleachers Podcast.